Hello. Today I thought I'd talk to you about my morning time basket and what is in it right now. This is the morning time basket we started in April and is going to go through June, through what I'm calling the end of our school year. So here's where I keep it on a little table here. It's kind of central to our main floor in our home. The other books around are not generally morning time books, but just other books we use for throughout the day, such as our nature reading, a math book, and some early readers for my daughter. So I will pull out the basket and we'll just go on through it. So the first thing that's in our morning time basket is actually my morning time clipboard. So on the front here, I have kind of just a list for myself of what order we do things in. And these things are split up because we don't do them every day. So we rotate between artist study, nature, which right now is bees and butterflies, and composer study. The rest of this under the squiggly line is actually at other times of the day, not morning time, but that was the easiest place for me to put it to remind myself. And under here, so it's all on scrap paper, so I don't know what's going to be on the backs. This is our morning time notes for myself. I've planned out for artist study which pieces, in this case paintings, by Georgia O'Keeffe we'll be looking at, which books we'll be looking at for nature study and composer study, songs, just, and if we don't get to everything, and it's not necessarily one per week, but it just gives me an idea, planning what to do, and then I have flexibility within the plan. And then I also have in here, some of the lyrics for some of our songs and our poem and such, so you can see. So that's my morning time binder. So this time I pulled out two books at once. This is Sunday and Every Day, my little book of Unitarian Universalism. And this was actually given to each of my children when we did their children's blessing at our congregation. And it's a really, really cute little book. So it goes through just basics of Unitarian Universalism. And we use it right now for chalice lighting. So we light a candle, and this is the reading we've been doing so far. At some point, I do want to go through, it goes through the 7 principles, and so we'll probably do a focus. I love it. It has little poems and verses and prayers for each principle, and so we'll probably go through and spend some time focusing on each principle. So, but that's basically our chalice or our candle lighting verse. That's what we use for that. And this is a beautiful book by Elsa Basco, Around the Year. Let me show you inside this one. So I'm going to come back to these poems with them at some point as well. And we do occasionally, usually at the beginning of the month, we'll read through that to kind of get the feel. Days of the week. So really it goes through each month, has a 2-page spread with a poem and a gorgeous picture. The illustrations are just absolutely beautiful. So we just read the poem for the month, for that whole month. And I've been enjoying that because we really get a feel for the poem in the month, and May is one of my absolute favorites. So I will be sad to be moving on to June, although they're all beautiful. So, yeah. July is another one of my favorites. So that's Around the Year with Elsa Basco. So the artist we're studying right now is Georgia O'Keeffe, and these are some books I have to help us with that. So this book, My Name is Georgia, is a great book. We read it, I think we spent 2 weeks. We just stopped halfway through the first week. And we've actually now read it through twice. I think it gives a wonderful sense of Georgia O'Keeffe as a person and kind of the independent spirit that she had, and talks about, you can kind of see in there some of the more famous images. And then we don't get really in depth because my kids are still so young, so this stuff is mostly for me. But I have a couple of reference books here that you'll see I tabbed ones. So I'll just choose one. Like last week we did The Black Iris, and we'll just talk about what we see in the picture. And I don't have them do narrating or anything because, again, my oldest is 4, so they're still young for that, but it's just a way to expose us to some beautiful artwork. And let's see if I have another one that we're gonna, the sky, yeah. And so it actually doesn't take very long at all. We'll usually read a little bit of the book about the artist and then look at a picture and talk about it for a few minutes. And so that is what is in our morning time basket for art right now. This is what is in our basket for our composer study this term. Our composer this term is Hildegard von Bingen, who was a medieval, she was an abbess, she had vision, she's just a really interesting woman. She was a composer, but she also wrote a book of her visions and wrote a book on, possibly more than one, on philosophy and on herbs and medicine, and she's just an incredible woman, and I wanted to share her music and a little bit about her life with my kids, so I found this children's picture book on her, which is just an introduction to her as a person. Doesn't really focus on her music, but it definitely mentions it, and as well as some of the other things she's done. So that's what we're using, The Secret World of Hildegard. I believe that's by Sarah Winter, and it's illustrated by Jeanette Winter. And then I don't use these ones every week, but I think they are fabulous. There's the Usborne Famous Composers Reference Book and the Usborne Classical Music Reference Book. They both mention Hildegard in brief, and so I read those sections to the kids. But in the future, I will be reading more about, if we study Mozart, which I hope I intend to do soon, I could read them this page, and we could even look up on the map where he is from and everything. So that's what this is wonderful for, and I'm sure we'll get more use out of it as the kids get older. Sorry for moving around there. The classical music is another great one. I've read them, bits and pieces of this one as we kind of go through talking about writing music down, and they're still so young, so we just talk about it for a few minutes, and then we usually listen to a piece from YouTube by Hildegard von Bingen, and but I know, again, as they get older, I will get more use out of this, but they live in our morning time basket right now. For our current nature study, we are learning about bees and butterflies. And so we each have a little book, and we just did several weeks of bees, and now I'll be doing butterflies. I don't have all of the books that I've been using in the basket right now because the basket gets very full, but I hope to do another blog post or video about that. But I just did some drawings of some bees, and I gotta tell you, using nature anatomy and the life and times of the bee has been fantastic because I don't consider myself naturally talented at drawing, so it's been really fun. I've been able to do this for myself. The kids each have their own book, but let me see if I can. This is my daughter's. She kind of, yeah, that's she just keeps adding to this one. I think it's a hummingbird near a pond with lots of flowers, and there might be some bees over there on the left-hand side, but she has fun drawing, and my son also, he's just got stuff all over. So those are just little books I have in there for our nature, specific nature study of bees and butterflies right now. Nature anatomy is, oh my goodness, it's just so gorgeous. Here, let me show you some of the insides here. So again, we just kind of finished up working on bees, so I use this for my drawing, and we'll be talking about butterflies next, so I'm really excited to start in on that this week. This is the first book I will be reading that I got about butterflies, and I'm really excited about it. It's about a medieval woman who discovered, the whole life cycle of the butterfly, and that insects weren't just born from the mud. And it's, again, got beautiful, but, I just love beautiful illustrations. So this is one they didn't have our library, so I bought this one. But I tried to get a lot of our books from the library as well. You might have seen some of the markings on some of them. So that is what we're doing for nature right now. Okay, so as of taping this, Ramadan started a few nights ago, and as you saw earlier, we identify as Unitarian Universalist, not Muslim, but I love learning about other cultures, and I profess that I don't actually know as much as I'd like to about Islam. So we found some beautiful books on Ramadan at the library, and we're just going to incorporate that into our morning time. I'm kind of just adding it in as an extra day because I really only have 3 extras planned, so we just add in a 4th day during the week, and I'll just read a little bit of these stories each time. This is Night of the Moon, and I think not only is it gorgeous, but I think it gives, a pretty good introduction to, to Ramadan, and also the white nights of Ramadan, which looks like it focuses more specifically on a festival in the middle of Ramadan, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce it because I don't want to mispronounce it badly. So I'm excited to read these with my kids, and we can all learn a little bit more. Part of our morning time is actually studying Italian, and I'm just doing it a little bit at a time. We learn we always sing a song, and my daughter and I count to 20. And recently I've added in kind of reciting or repeating a verb. So we did mangiare, which means to eat. And I just have my book of verbs here so I can remind myself of all the verbs and make sure to review before teaching them to my daughter, make sure I'm saying them correctly. So that's my 501 Italian verbs book that I've had since, I think I got it in college when I was studying Italian. And then this is another beautiful Usborne book. Let me get that there. First 1,000 Words, and they have this in several different languages. And obviously, I got it in Italian. We might get the Spanish version in the future too. And how we use this right now is we don't do it every week, but every once in a while we kind of come in and look at the picture, and then usually my kids each want to choose, like, my son might choose this one because it has construction vehicles in it. And we'll just talk about what we see, and we'll use the vocab on the side. Mostly I will use the vocab, so I might say, Dove la bicicletta? Where is the bicycle? And, they'll have to find it. And so we're just learning some vocabulary that way. Let me show you the back of this book too. Ooh. There's a lot in here, I have to say. I'm very happy with the amount this has in it. It says 1,000, and I'm pretty sure, the back actually has a pronunciation guide to help pronounce things correctly. I was trying to find, let's see. It has the numbers in here, which I really like. It has how it has this, as well as the shapes and the colors. So those, I just wanted to show you those sections because we've used those quite a bit as well. So that's for our Italian study. And again, I don't have necessarily books for the songs right now. Sometimes I have them typed out in my morning time clipboard. Right now we've been doing the same too. We've been rotating between for a little while. So we have those memorized pretty well. So that's our Italian. So these are kind of unexpected objects for a morning time basket, but what these are for my son who has speech delays to practice mouth movement exercises. So I actually don't keep the pinwheels in the basket because otherwise they get played with at other times and destroyed. But he might practice blowing the pinwheel or blowing the pom-pom off his palm or across the table. Same thing with the ping pong ball. I've had the kids like on the floor practice blowing it to each other, and he also tries to make the train whistle sound. And we have some other activities we do with that as well, including bubbles, but those are not in or near the basket, as I don't want the kids getting into them at other times. So that's just kind of a fun addition we have there. So this is the final book in our morning time basket right now, Mapping Penny's World. I just want to talk to, especially my 4-year-old, more about maps and give her a sense of the world. I plan to talk to her about the cardinal directions. She's been getting better at left and right, so it feels like a good time to do that. So I'm still working on exactly when I'm going to work this in. I'm not really in a rush. But we've read this book actually before. We've gotten it from the library before, and so I just got it out again, and I'm hoping maybe this time it will inspire us to, make our own maps, maybe of where we like to go on walks, or something of that effect. So that I hope you've enjoyed this peek into our morning time basket. It was fun to share with you, and it's also fun to see the stack of books here like this. It seems like a lot here, and as I'm explaining it, it feels like a lot, but as we go through it, it's really not. We do each item takes a very short amount of time, and in total we usually spend between 30 and 40 minutes in the morning, and it's just a way for us to sit together and kind of get some good things in. And right now we're all enjoying it. I mean, my 2-year-old occasionally runs off when we're doing, our art or nature, and that's perfectly fine. He's gotten in his songs and his finger plays and his mouth movement exercises at least. So, but he often sits through a good majority of it. So I think it's something that's working really well for us right now. And maybe I gave you some ideas. I love seeing ideas that you all share. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day.